The suave businessman was blacklisted by CBI as he was suspected of manipulating government contracts and ministers, and bureaucrats were expected to take extra care while dealing with him. Okay, so where do you think the error is, or do you think there is any error at all? I mean, there could be multiple errors, or there could not be, any error at all, right? Some of you are saying B, some of you are saying C, some of you are saying no error. Let's put the parts first. This is A, this is B, and this is C, and this is D, right? Okay, now that we are clear. See, if you ask me, actually, all of you have given me different parts, right? Now, if you say bureaucratizes, it's a verb, right? It's an action word. But were expected to take extra care while dealing with him means I need a noun form, right? I need a noun form here. So what is a noun form of that? If I say bureaucratizes, it's a verb form, correct? So what's the noun form of it? Bureaucrats. Who's a bureaucrat? Right? Some official in a government department, right? So having said that, so obviously the error is in part C. I was just coming to that. There are multiple errors if you ask me. The suave businessman was blacklisted by the CBI. This can be one addition here in part A. Also, here I will add, so or therefore. I'll tell you why. Let's go ahead. Look at this. The suave businessman was blacklisted by the CBI as he was suspected of doing something. So somebody said suspected for. Suspected of as a collocation is also correct. Somebody is suspected of doing something. That's fine. Suspected of manipulating government contracts and ministers, and therefore bureaucrats were expected to take extra care while dealing with him. That makes sense. Suave means somebody who is very smooth in the way they operate, right? So, like salesmen, right? These charming salesmen who just know what to say and how to say and convince you to buy the product, right? It's very charming. They know what to say. They have the right words. There's something about them, right? Are you following? So multiple errors here if you ask me. Let's quickly put down that, right? Part A, the before CBI. If you want to go strictly, being specific, that's about it, right? That's one. The suave businessman was blacklisted by CBI, by the CBI. Required, not required. Technically, if you want to go ahead and be more specific, you can add the. But even if you don't add the, it's still fine because you have sentences with by CBI. As he was suspected of manipulating government contracts and ministers. And then in part C, so because as a result of this, so I'm going to add either so or therefore, and that's why bureaucrats. So you change the verb form, bureaucratizes, which is a verb form, change it to the noun form, bureaucrats. That's it, right? Manipulating means not very difficult word actually. The charming businessman was blacklisted by the CBI as he was suspected of manipulating government contracts. We obviously know it's a negative word, right? Because he's blacklisted. Manipulating government contracts and ministers. So manipulating means you're doing something which is you're operating in such a manner where it's devious, or you're trying to cheat someone. You're being very clever about it, right? You're doing it with extreme skill. However, it's still something that you shouldn't be doing, right? When you're manipulating someone, basically what you're doing is you want this person to behave in a particular fashion. So you try and use the right words or say things so it will change their mind to think on those lines, right? That's manipulation. That person may not want the same result like you do. But the way you say things, the way you put across things, that person also starts thinking, oh, actually, yeah, no, I should do it. Okay, let's move. Yes, convincing for selfish interest. Absolutely. Influencing someone. There are reasonable, well-founded arguments in favor of doing away with age-old customs that are incongruous with the aspirations and rights of educated women and the charging needs of society. Okay, so let's look at parts. Part A, Part B, Part C, Part D. Okay, so incongruence means to be in line with, right? In fact, keep in mind, right, the prefix not. not in line with something, right? So there are reasonable, well-founded arguments. Here, I mean, keep in mind that arguments is a noun, right? And so the words before that should ideally be describing what sort of arguments. So if that is the case, you'll need an adjective, right? It should be well-founded. That makes more sense as an adjective. Well-founded arguments. There are reasonable, well-founded arguments. Instead of saying it that way, instead of saying two adjectives, you can change the word reasonable to reasonably, adverb, right? Because an adverb can modify an adjective, another adverb, as well as a verb. Why old age? Old age is completely different meaning, right? Age-old customs means it conveys the meaning appropriately. Customs which are outdated, no longer in practice or in use. So age-old as an adjective is fine as it is. You don't have to change that to old age, because when you change it to old age, we're talking about old people. That's not what we need in the context. It's completely irrelevant. Yes. So there are reasonably well-founded arguments, right? Change it to reasonably adverb. So error is in part A, reasonably well-founded arguments, right? Somebody said part D. Let's quickly look at it. So in favor of what? Doing away with age-old customs that are incongruous, which means not in line with the aspirations and rights of educated women, adjective noun, and the changing, charging a. Okay, Sagar, I'm assuming this is a typo error, right? It should be changing needs, na? If this is not a typo error, then the error is in D also. So which means this is correct. It's only changing, right? So if that has been cleared, I'm sure all of you agree that the error is in part A and not in part D, because it's a typo error. Let's move on.